Republican and Democrat primaries heat up, and on this week's show, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, America's toughest sheriff, joins me. Welcome to the Mike Broomhead Show.
Well, I got a message, I got a song. Can I get a witness? Tell me what's going on. I show the people I've been away.
He is known as America's toughest sheriff. He's probably the best known name in American law enforcement. Joe Arpaio from Maricopa County, Arizona. Two-part interview with Sheriff Joe. We also have Broomhead's Best and, of course, hashtag this week. And don't forget to follow us on social media. Find us on Twitter and on Instagram, and already email us. We'd love to hear from you. Our Facebook page is lighting up as well. We start every show off with something we call the sweep. Well, the big news this week was, first of all, Donald Trump wins every primary, and he gets over 50% in all of the Republican primaries. Hillary takes 4 out of 5. After that, trying to take away some of that momentum, Ted Cruz decided to do something that hasn't been done since Ronald Reagan did it the first time he ran against Gerald Ford in a primary. He announced his running mate before the convention. He's chosen Carly Fiorina. We know from California she used to run HP. She was also a candidate. Well, here's my issue. Ted Cruz says everything hinges on Indiana. He goes to Indiana and kind of flubs a little bit of a speech there. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Hoosiers, but in the movie Hoosiers, there's a famous scene. Gene Hackman, the coach, his little town team makes it to the big state finals in Indiana, and they are just mesmerized by the enormity of that arena. So he has one of his players measure from the hoop to the floor. And then he says, same as back home. Basically saying, it doesn't matter how big the arena is, it's the same game. So Ted Cruz wants to quote that. And in Indiana, where basketball is as big as football is in Florida and Texas, he calls it a basketball ring. How do you said everything hinges on Indiana, and you call it a basketball ring. I am a Ted Cruz supporter. You just can't do it. I know it sounds like a small item, but this is your most important state. So then he names Carly Fiorina as his running mate. This is a big issue. It's going to take at least for 24 hours the momentum away from Donald Trump. And Donald Trump gave a policy speech, which we'll get to in a moment. But Carly Fiorina, during her acceptance speech and talking about the path forward to victory, while she was speaking, decided to break out into song with some lullaby or something she sings with Ted Cruz's daughters. Watch this. It's confusing.
I know 2 girls that I just adore. I'm so happy I can see them more. 'Cause we travel on the bus all day, we get to play. We get to play. I won't bore you with any more of the song. But they have 4 verses, Caroline and Catherine. Love you, girls.
What was that? I don't get it. What I mean by that, nothing wrong with it. It's not the devastation of a campaign, but you are putting all of your eggs in Indiana's basket, and then you say this is what's going to take the momentum. Well, that clip is taking over the news cycle. It's just things that seem to be not showing Ted Cruz to be the candidate that I know he is. I still am a Ted Cruz supporter, but I've got to tell you, if Donald Trump becomes the nominee, I want to be able to support Donald Trump. Well, we're going to get to his policy speech in a moment. But before we do that, this is how important this race is. Hillary Clinton takes a shot at Trump, and Hillary Clinton is talking about her path to the nomination and her path to the White House and what a Hillary Clinton America looks like. Watch this.
Now, the other day, Mr. Trump accused me of playing the, quote, woman card. Well, if fighting for women's health care and paid family leave and equal pay is playing the woman card, then deal me in.
There you have it. If taking more of your tax dollars and giving it to special interest groups is playing the woman card, deal me in. There it is. This is what we've had. In that speech, she talks about the greatness of Barack Obama and carrying on the tradition. I've got to tell you, does anybody think we are better off now than we were 7.5 years ago? If the answer is yes, vote for Hillary Clinton. If not, we've got a difficult path between now and November. And when I say we, I mean the American people, not the Republican Party. Voting by party is what a small group of people do. What most people do is they vote their conscience. Which of the candidates is going to align themselves with the American people? Now, two sides of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, this is what America sees. This is what scares the Republican Party, and this is what makes Donald Trump look like he is unelectable and unpopular with the American people. Watch this.
But here's a guy couldn't fight by himself. He was saying how well he did. And look, he's lying Ted. He holds the Bible high and then he lies. He puts it down. Lying Ted. Not worth it.
He reminds me of something from Championship Wrestling. That looks like an ad for WrestleMania. That's the Donald Trump that scares people and says he can't beat Hillary that way. That doesn't sound presidential. But Donald Trump gave a foreign policy speech. To Donald Trump's credit, what Donald Trump did was say, this is what foreign policy under a Donald Trump presidency looks like. You want to see the Donald Trump that I think a lot of Americans can get behind? The Donald Trump that I want to see if he becomes the nominee because I want to support him? Watch just a small piece of this foreign policy speech.
I'd like to talk today about how to develop a new foreign policy direction for our country. One that replaces randomness with purpose, ideology with strategy, and chaos with peace. It's time to shake the rust off America's foreign policy. It's time to invite new voices and new visions into the fold, something we have to do. My foreign policy will always put the interests of the American people and American security above all else. Has to be first. Has to be.
Now, if Donald Trump can do that, if Donald Trump can continue to do that, he is going to show the American people. America first. What a principle, right? We are always going to put the interest of the American people and American security first. He also said that we are going to be a better friend to our allies, that we're going to show that to our friends. I've got to tell you, that sounds presidential. Let's see if he can continue to do that. Do you know that Donald Trump has already more votes of the people than any other Republican nominee ever in a primary, and there's still 7 states to go. So let's see if he can convince the rest of the country. Now, another big news story, the Arizona State Supreme Court changed the way the police require sobriety tests. It used to be in the paperwork, and they could say to suspects that you must submit to a sobriety test on the side of the road. The Supreme Court said that violates your Fourth Amendment right to warrantless searches. So they can no longer tell suspects that you are required. Now, you will lose your driver's license for up to a year because you sign implied consent when you get a driver's license. So when you get your driver's license, you sign on the dotted line and say, if I'm asked to take a field sobriety test, I will submit. And if I don't, I will forfeit my driver's license. That's all well and good, but you can't tell them that they are going to jail if they don't. That is a huge shift for the Arizona State Supreme Court. I just thought that was very interesting. And finally, in the headlines, in the city of Tempe, they had an ordinance in place where it was okay to be homeless on the street. It was okay to squat or sit or solicit on the streets. They've changed that because on Mill Avenue, which is right by Arizona State University, they are becoming overrun with homeless people. The new ordinance says that it's wrong. There's a sit-in this week in Tempe siding with the homeless people. What about the store owners? And all they're saying is, well, it's not that we're against homelessness, it's not that we don't feel your pain or have an issue and make sure you should get the care you need. You just can't do it on the streets. Very interesting as this moves forward. In a moment, Sheriff Joe Arpaio joins the show for a 2-part interview. Don't go away.
The Mike Broomhead Show is brought to you in part by Cliff Castle Casino Hotel and Sanderson Ford.
He is probably one of the most well-known names in American law enforcement, Sheriff Joe Arpaio from Maricopa County. Sheriff, thanks for stopping in.
Thank you, Mike.
News release, you are using money from seized guns to purchase ammunition and supplies, equipment for radios.
Yeah, you know, we have a lot of guns been seized from criminals.
Yeah.
And why not sell them, which we did. We got about $300,000. So we're using that money to buy 51 cases of ammunition to furnish to our volunteer armed posse, which I'm trying to increase to 1,000. We're up to 350, especially veterans and ex-cops.
When you do things like this, because they would say, you know, you're putting more guns on the street, why not melt them down? But you're selling them to
License.
Yeah, licensed owner. So there shouldn't be an issue with that. Plus, now you're saving money for the county. When you look at some of the things that you're known for, which is interesting because you know my brother's a cop in Florida.
Bless him.
And you're so well known in law enforcement communities.
Mm-hmm.
Tent City is something you are known for. Are there other places that are trying to implement tent cities that you know of?
No, people have visited, especially when it's snowing up on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they've ever implemented the tents.
Is that going to be, do you think that's going to be your legacy? What do you want to leave behind? Because listen, you're going to be sheriff, I think, for a long time, but you look at the years you've been in the office. What's your legacy as sheriff of Maricopa County? Is it the controversy? Is it Tent City? What is it?
I don't know. And first of all, Mike, no reflection on you, but you know the day I leave, you'll forget how to spell my name. But that's
Me?
okay, yeah. Oh, come on. Once you're gone, you're gone.
Okay.
So when you say legacy, what am I leaving? I'm history. I should be dead and buried because that's the way it works. You know that. But when I look in the mirror at myself, then I can say a couple things.
And what are some of those? What is that you want to be? The people closest to you, what do you want them to remember you for and what you've done? Because you've served in law enforcement for a long time. 55
years. Probably the person more than anything else. I look at myself that I'm a senior citizen. I think life experience helps me. And one more thing is common sense. I think that's what keeps me going. But there's one other element that I don't like surrendering. I like fighting, which I've been doing. So you take those three elements and work hard. I never have a vacation. So when I look in the mirror, I can say, hey, I did it my way, like Frank. And hey, that's the way it is. So I can sleep peacefully and know that I gave it all, because I've done it my whole life, Mike. I've always worked hard, no matter delivering my father's Italian groceries, Army, police, Federal Drug Enforcement, sheriff. That's all I do. I have no hobbies except I like movies. So I don't know what else I can say. I can give you the patriotic answer. And it's probably one more thing, whether it's ego or what, but everywhere I go, people come up. I was at the restaurant up the street this morning. People from Florida came up. Oh, sure, we always wanted to meet you. Now, okay, that's nice for that, but I like meeting people. I get pictures with anybody. Could be the mob, I don't know. I don't check them out before I have a picture. But I like dealing with people, so it makes me feel good that I can deal with people and they support me. And that's why I'm doing it. If the people didn't want me, goodbye, I'll be gone.
Right.
But they want me, and I'm not trying to be over dramatic, and I'm gonna keep fighting for them and fight for myself, because I don't like surrendering. I don't like it, and I'm not gonna do it. And that's what's keeping me going for the 7th time. Everybody says you ought to retire. Okay, I'm not gonna retire. So I don't know what else to tell you. I can run by my whole career. We'll be here all night. But I think the bottom line is, in any business too, you have to have the right people work for you. You have to support your people. I'm a big cop supporter. I don't fire people because KFYI may blast me, or the Arizona Republic. That doesn't sway me. Political or media doesn't sway me. And get rid of people just because of politics. I stick by my people, and that's the way it is.
Yeah, and it's when now you look at the job that you've done all these years, I want to ask you about moving forward, because you've got an election coming up this year, but also how the job has changed. I moved here in 1995, and I remember my first images of Joe Arpaio, sheriff then. Talk about how it's been for you over and how the job has changed. So let's take a quick break. In a moment, I want to ask Sheriff Joe some specific questions about his career and what he sees moving forward as the job has changed and what he's going to do in the next term as sheriff if he remains sheriff of Maricopa County. We'll be back. All right, we're back with Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Before we went to break, we were talking about the job, but I asked you about legacy. There's a lot of things people don't know about you. There's a perception that comes with you when you're in public life, and you are probably, I think you're probably the best known sheriff in America, good or bad, but there's a perception of who you are. A lot of people don't know that you served in drug enforcement in Mexico. I mean, you worked in Mexico for a long time, right?
I was the director, the top guy. South America, Mexico, Texas, Arizona, the top federal guy on both sides of the border, plus 24 years as sheriff. So I think I know where Mexico is. I'm trying to get there to meet the president. They've been stonewalling me. Now they're throwing in the Trump card because I'm close with Trump. But I want to get there and talk to the people, let them know how I used to do it up there and what we can do here to help them. But there's a lot of politics involved.
Are people afraid of the perception of who you are? And there's a perception of who Joe Arpaio is, so they don't want to have a meeting with you, and then maybe when they meet with you, they kind of change their mind?
Yeah.
Does that happen a lot?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't care who they are. Even in the jails, I could pick up half the votes in the jail if they could vote. I get the people. But once they sit down, oh, you're not like we see on TV and all that, same old, how it is.
Right.
So I am a nice guy. I like people. But how do you get that message across sometimes?
Well, I've seen a lot of the interviews, and I've seen when you walk in when you walk in Tent City with the inmates, they seem to respect you, if not like you, and some of them like you a lot, which is surprising to a lot of people because they're stuck in the tents. It's cold in the winter. It's hot in the summer. You don't make any excuses for that. As a matter of fact, I've heard you say to them, troops are serving in the same conditions. So when you look at the job, how has it changed? I'll tell you my first memory of you is I was here, Super Bowl came, it was at Sun Devil Stadium, Dallas Cowboys, Pittsburgh Steelers, and there was a big crane up in the air with a vacancy sign telling people that if you break the law in Maricopa County when you come here, we got room for you. We're never going to be too full. That was my first memory of you as sheriff. How is the job same and different in all those years?
1954, I became a beat cop. Toughest beat in America, 14th and U in Washington, black beat. Had a blackjack, a nightstick, and a Smith Wesson 38. That's all. I didn't have all these machine guns, mace, everything else. The blackjack. Of course, you can't do that anymore. Now you have video cameras. You can't go to the toilet without being recorded. It's changed. I don't know how to do computers. Oh my God, things have changed. I worry about it a little. I worry about the cops. I worry that my deputies now all have these cameras. I'm the one that said, I don't want body cameras, but I changed because that's a coming thing. And so we bought 800 body cameras. So, okay, it's changed. The media's watching over you. Everybody's watching over you. I was joking when I said the bathroom. Okay, everybody takes your picture. But you know what? You don't go fire somebody because what you see on the video. That could be you. You do investigations. You don't always believe what you see. Because of the politics and the media, people sometimes overreact, makes it look like they're doing something.
Right.
I don't believe in it. I believe in getting all the facts.
Do you think that the body cameras in most cases are going to help show the deputy to be right, or any cop? That's always been my contention, is that if people saw what cops really have to face every day, they'd be a little bit more empathetic to what they enjoy. Why the TV show Cops is so popular, because it does show the dangers that cops instantly can get themselves into.
Yeah, but that's edited. I've been on that movie, so there's a
difference.
Yeah,
Maricopa County's on there a lot.
There's a difference. I just worry about my deputies maybe waiting that split second, afraid what they may, not that they're doing anything wrong and they get shot and killed because they got that camera all over the place. That's what I worry about.
Right.
But maybe in the long run it's good. It clears a lot of our people. But I don't want my guys to be restricted, afraid to do their job. And we're not. We're still stopping cars, plenty of them, and doing our job.
So, election, familiar names in the election running against you. You've, for a long time, if people had to put money on someone who was going to win re-election in Arizona, your name would come up first in most cases. You've won elections by big numbers a lot of times. How do you feel when you're challenged? Do you still take them very seriously as challenges? Do you run your campaigns differently now? Are you worried because of all the federal stuff now where people are talking about you? Does that concern you that you may not get reelected?
No. You always run, even if nobody's running against you. Because, if you die, I still want to be elected. No, I take everything serious, but I run my campaigns. I raise money. This is my 7th time. I'm the longest serving sheriff in the history of Maricopa County, which they can't take that away from. I'm pretty proud of that one. That I'll stick with. But every 4 years you have to do it. I stand on my record. Some controversy there, of course. How are you going to be sheriff 24 years and not have any controversy? Now, if you don't do nothing, but even if you don't do nothing, you're going to get some controversy. So how do you survive that long? 3rd largest sheriff's office, and here I am. I was 60 when I ran. I'm not afraid to tell you.
Yeah.
60.
Yeah.
And I'm still around. So I'm going to be around. Now, the next time, I'll have to decide whether I get Ironside's chair, the electric chair, put a 50 caliber. I may have to do that the next time. No, I am doing it again. My wife has some health problems. She's sticking with me. She's going to be right there next to me. We're into this to the end.
Right.
And I'm doing it, and see what happens.
Listen, no backing down in this, Sheriff, and that's why you're always such a great interview. I appreciate you always being willing to talk about any topic with us, and you've always been forthcoming with us, so we always appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, we'll be back. All right, it's time for my favorite part of the show, something Arizona, something we all love. It's called Broomhead's Best. It's the beginning of the NFL season. It's called the NFL Draft. It's where we get to see what additions are made. Now, the Arizona Cardinals have a couple of choices. What needs are they trying to serve? Now, by the time you see the show, the Cardinals would have picked on Thursday night. So I'm making a guess right now. Who are they going to take? 2 schools of thought. You're going to try to shore up the offensive line and help out Carson Palmer and win right now. You take the center from Alabama, Ryan Kelly. But if you're looking to the future, you get a quarterback like Connor Cook from Michigan State. You take him, you put him on the bench for a couple of years as Carson Palmer finishes his career, and you let him watch and learn and make that the future of the franchise. Tough choice. The Cardinals are one of the teams that are picked to be very, very tough this year. So that's Broomhead's Best. Now what's burning up the internet? We call it #this.
Lights will guide you home.
All right, did you see the young autistic kid with his father at the Coldplay concert? His name is Julio Vasquez. This was over 3 million views on YouTube. Their favorite song came on, and his dad is just singing at the top of his lungs. You can just see the emotion in this young man. They are calling it Todos Somos Julio, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He is really touched the hearts of millions and millions of people. So that's this week's #this. Don't forget, you can follow us on all the platforms for social media, Instagram, Facebook, and of course on Twitter. Find us there or email me here. We'll be back to finish the show in just 1 minute.
The Mike Broomhead Show is brought to you in part by Cliff Castle Casino Hotel and Sanderson Ford.
The candidates are starting to make it clear of what's on the line in this election. Just remember this. Hillary Clinton says she wants to raise American taxes by $1 trillion over 10 years. That's $100 billion a year for the next 10 years. Now, you tell me if you don't think that Americans are taxed enough already. That's the question. Do you want to go with bigger government, or do they already have enough of your money? Those are the 2 basic choices. If Donald Trump can talk about the economy like he did foreign policy, he's got a really good chance of beating her if both of those candidates become the nominees. Thanks for being with us this week. Don't forget the social media to follow us on all platforms. We're glad you're here. Back next Saturday night at 6 and 10. Have a great week, everyone. God bless.
Get more of Mike Broomhead on Facebook, Twitter, and of course weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on News Talk 550 KFYI.